Welcome into the live stream on Texas football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers and Jerry Hamilton. Literally, I think we're well done right now. It was 95 and hot out there today. But I tell you what, Steve Sarkisian was gracious with the media window, letting us go 9 periods, 45 minutes of practice, essentially. Good stuff there. Let's talk a little bit of football here on Texas football today. Major takeaways. I'll start with you, Rod. What were your major takeaways from the first day of fall camp?
Just looking at the team, man, they're bigger and a faster team even than they were last year. I mean, that's pretty evident. Whether you're talking about the defensive line and the defensive ends and the edges, really impressive. The speed at wide receiver, the size, and really the length at defensive back is really impressive now too. They just look very different there because you got a lot of long, rangy athletes, seeing guys like Kobe Black now in uniform. So a very different looking team. I think this is closer to what Sark wants his teams to look like ultimately, the size, the speed, the length overall.
Jerry, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I thought, I was looking at the newcomers, right? A kid like who we may not see a lot on the field this year. Santana Wilson looks like he belongs. Really well put together kid, 185, 190 pounds. I thought Javion Cole is a legitimate 175, 180 pounds. That was one of the guys I was looking for because he'd been listed at 167 to 180. That's a pretty big gap for a kid that plays corner that's 21 years old. He's 175, 180 pounds. Silas Bolden has the best feet on the team. I know we're going to get into this, but he's got the best feet on the team. He'll be your punt returner. And I know Isaiah Bond worked some first-team punt return. And look, we can get into this, but when they actually rolled the first-team DBs out, first-team DBs were Derek Williams and Taft with Gilbo at nickel and Manny and Gavin at corner. That was one of the things I immediately took away. Same starters on the offensive line. One other thing I took away today was Cole Hudson was the number 2 left guard. Neto was the number 2 right guard in this practice today. Trevor Gooseby, your number 2 left tackle. Jaden Chapman, your number 2 right tackle. Connor Robertson, your number 2 center. So that was your second team group on the offensive line. I didn't see enough of the punter, the comment, so you guys can ask away. I didn't see enough of that.
You know what? I will tell you this much. You mentioned Silas Bolden and his feet. He is quick. He's got the best feet. Like one of the things you want out of a punt returner is if they misgauge a ball, they need recovery. And he's the one that has the ability to make one step wrong and still get back and make a clean catch. That was evident. I'll tell you, Jalen Gilbo going out with the first team, to your point, Jerry, was one of the big takeaways for me. The receivers, and let's start with this, Jerry. I think this is important. First string receivers out of the gate were were Jonte Cook, DeAndre Moore, and Isaiah Bond. Wow. Now the rest of the group came by, etc. But they all look good to me. Ryan Wingo still to this point looks much better, Jerry.
Yeah, I'll say this: DeAndre Moore was the first non-specialist on the practice field. Those are things I look for, man. I mean, he also was very early out for the spring game. He's showing Sark something here, and he got some praise from Sark on a couple of routes as well. I'll say this: Amari Niblack's going to be a problem running routes. I mean, Andrew Makuba's a really good player, and Niblack, I mean, just zip right by him on a little square end route. Amari Niblack, I'll say it again, he moves like a wide receiver playing tight end. There are very few guys like that.
Let's talk a little bit about the defensive front. We didn't get to see them much because they were kind of sequestered on another area, but it was our first look at Bill Norton and Jermaine Lole, the big defensive tackles. Norton, guys, he's enormous. I mean, he is a big dude now. Yep. It's kind of funny watching him wear number 15 out there. Lole is not, a particularly impressive looking figure out there at all, but clearly one of the guys they're hoping to do well. Tia Savea looked good. Alfred Collins, I thought, looked the best he's looked in a Longhorn uniform.
Yeah, I thought a couple of guys. I thought Barron Sorrell looked as good as we've seen him look. He actually walked by me, and I thought he was somebody else. Look at the jersey. That's Barron Sorrell. He continues to transform his body. So it looks like the D-line to me, we've talked about that possible NASCAR package they could have. I do tell you got some defensive ends, some edges that do have the frame for you to bump them inside just occasionally for them to be able to give you kind of some dynamic pass rush this season. So they're deep, the defensive line. There's no question about that.
Let's see a little bit of footage here, Matt, if you have something that you can bring up for us. You guys get a few pieces here. Here's Quinn moving in the pocket, throwing on the outside. We got a couple of different clips for everybody to take a view of here. What did y'all think of the quarterbacks today? I'll start with you, Jer.
Yeah, I think, look, it was a pretty windy day, first of all, which was good for all of us standing there watching about an hour of the media window. Kyle asked about that, about an hour. Look, I thought both the guys looked really good. I mean, here's Arch to Silas Bolden against Michael Taff. I mean, Silas Bolden had a whale of a day. And yes, he is very little on that football field, but he had a hell of a day. I thought Arch and Quinn threw the ball really well in the intermediate game. Today, from what I saw, Trey Owens had a couple of freshman moments, but the ball really popped off of his hand at times as well.
Look at this. The drills here. I tell you what, Juan Davis does look better.
He's bigger. He's bigger now.
Yeah, absolutely, much bigger. Seriously trying to play through it. This is Amari Nyblack going next, followed by Will Randall. Here's the last one up, just so everybody gets it. Jeff Banks made Nyblack go multiple times on this drill.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it makes sense because they got the one thing they got to work on with Nyblack, because he'll have no problems at all winning in one-on-one coverage, because I saw him in one-on-ones. He looked great. You're right, Jerry. It looks like a wide receiver. Can he be an adequate enough blocker where you don't have a 75% pass rate every time Nyblack's on the field to make it a dead giveaway? That's going to be the challenge this year for Nyblack and for Jeff Banks.
That was a good catch. That was a good catch by Bolden there, by Isaiah Bond there, and then Silas Bolden right behind him.
Parker Livingstone there. Hey, what did y'all think of the receivers? Let's talk about them because
deep.
Rod,
they're deep. Inside, you're right about Silas Bolden. I saw him in one-on-ones. He's got a kind of weird, keen knack for being able to make contested catches as a real tiny guy.
Yes.
He made one in one-on-ones. It was a crossing right across the middle. Ended up being a contested catch situation. Came down with the football. Had another deep ball they threw for him. Wasn't a contested catch situation, but the adjustment that he had to make, kind of body control he has. He has a strange, weirdly large catch radius for a smaller guy too. He just plays way bigger than he is, and he is small. Like he's smaller than Xavier Worthy out there. I mean, that's small, but he is dynamic. There's no doubt about that. Once he puts his foot in the ground, there's no denying he gets in and out of that break. He'll lose you.
I got to be honest. The one that I just continue to be, Ryan Wingo in one-on-ones did to Kobe Black exactly what he did to him again.
Right by.
Yeah, you saw that. It was like one guy was in fifth and one guy was stuck in third.
And Kobe Black looks the part. Black looks the part, man. You see him and you're like, damn, that looks like an NFL cornerback right there. But his eyes are undisciplined. You can tell eyes were in the wrong place. It's one-on-ones. Your eyes should be pretty disciplined from the quarterback straight back to your number one, and he got his eyes lost.
One misstep though, and Ryan Wingo,
he accelerated past him quick.
Yes.
I mean, you did not see Kobe Black's makeup speed at all because it just
there wasn't one. There was no makeup. Yeah. It was into the end zone.
Separation.
The other one, the very next play, he came back and Wingo ran a slant over the middle.
I saw that.
It was thrown low to his knees and a little away. He caught his hand over like that, Rod.
Yep.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. It wasn't trying to underhand catch. What other receivers? Isaiah Bond had a couple moments.
Matthew Golden looks really solid to me. Just a solid football player, strong route runner, strong hands. He may not make the wow plays in practice like a Wingo or a Silas Bolden, but he is very, very consistent on a football field, Rod.
I agree with you. He seems like one of those guys as a receiver that, and the quarterbacks love this, consistent with the depth that he runs the routes at, consistent with the way he runs his routes, how he gets in and out of his breaks. That consistency, that baseline is what quarterbacks want. So they know exactly where their receivers will be on any given play. Seems like Matthew goes, and he's so smooth. He's a very smooth athlete. When you're talking about returning, as a kickoff returner, he actually had some punt return stuff too. Or if you're talking about as a receiver, he is extremely smooth as an athlete, man. So I can see why the coaches love him so much.
All right, I'm gonna put this out there for you. Now that we talked about wide receivers, most underrated position on the team, in my opinion, by far, tight end.
Tight end. I knew we should have done a job.
Because look, Gunnar Helms is legit and can catch the ball. Got good length. Good speed, downfield speed. Amari Nyblack, to Jerry says he's a problem. He is a problem. Juan Davis looks like he's ready to go, and Jordan Washington beat Jahdae Barron on a one-on-one ball, and then beat Andrew Makuba on a one-on-one, and that's a true freshman. The tight end room is better. It is like if I were saying sneaky good, I would say tight ends are sneaky good. You agree with that?
I like that. Yeah, I would say my only concern is honestly right now because you have more guys I'm confident can win one-on-ones. That's why Gunnar Helm, watching him in the one-on-one drills, and he made one great catch downfield, kind of over the shoulder catch. It was really good.
Nice pass from Arch.
It was.
Yeah.
If he can do that, Gunnar Helm's going to be your guy because I think Nye Black is awesome, and I think Nye Black's going to be a dynamic, explosive vertical threat. My concern with Nye Black is what's the pass rate when he's on the field, and does he run a route every time? There were times where JT Sanders was staying in block.
Right.
They do max protect, or they wanted to insulate protection. He was staying in block. Do you ever have any play where Nye Black is a blocker, is a primary blocker rather than a pass receiver? Because if not, like I said, it's going to make you really predictable in what you're going to do. It means Helm, if they're in their 12 personnel, Helm is always going to be the blocker. Nye Black's always going down the route. You'll know that. So I want when they get some balance with those two, and Nye Black can be a better blocker. And I saw enough from Gunnar Helm to know he's been working on his routes, creating separation. I think you may get a nice 1-2 combo. And if not, I think they're confident that Juan Davis or young Jordan Washington can push if necessary.
I completely agree. I'll say this. After tight end, I watched the linebackers quite a bit today. Anthony Hill. Here's a question for Longhorn Frenzy with the super chat. Thanks for all y'all do. How did they look getting off the bus? SEC size? Anybody unexpected standout size wise?
I caught Jerry actually there for that specific purpose. When I walked up, Jerry was watching them walk off the buses.
Yeah.
He was like, "What are you doing?" Jerry's like, "I'm watching them walk off the bus." That's exactly what he said. Those were his words.
Well,
so I'll let Jerry take.
I want to tell you, Anthony Hill would be one of them. Is what I was getting at. Anthony Hill would definitely be one of them. Who else, Jerry? Did you like a lot?
Maybe not Alfred Collins when he walks off the bus, right? But Justice Finkley is really put together, guys. I mean, that is, I don't know what his official weight is. I'm guessing 260, 265, but that is a packed 265 now. He looks really strong. I thought Colton Vosick looked healthy, strong today, getting off the bus, and then what you saw him. I thought that was a very good sign. Look, I thought Cam Williams has definitely dropped some weight. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I don't know if it's 20 pounds. I don't know if it's 25. I don't know if it's 15 officially, but he's definitely dropped some weight, and he physically looks better than he ever has at Texas. You can tell he's preparing to be a starter this year. Where in the last 2 years, he was in development mode, Rod. This is his I'm here year, and maybe I'll play good enough where I can go to the NFL.
I will say this. Let's add this real quick too, because we inevitably will get questions about Sadir Mitchell and how he looked. I don't think he's 350. I'll start with that. I think he's 360, maybe 370. That's just a guess. Yeah. But he's not 350. I'll tell you who did look good. Not only Alex January, his body continues to be reshaped, but Melvin Hills.
He looks good.
Good looking young player. Looks like he has something to mold. Has a chance there as well. Talking with Rod Babers here and Jerry Hamilton. This is On Texas Football, special live stream. We're talking Longhorn reactions to the first day of practice. Steve Sarkisian will meet with the media here in the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to leave y'all in about 15 minutes or so to go over and be available for that. Talking about some of the highlights. We've talked a little bit about Silas Bolden and the wide receivers, Ryan Wingo having a good day, Isaiah Bond, Jonte Cook. I thought Jonte Cook had a good day as well. We didn't mention him much. The quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers certainly went number 1, Arch Manning number 2, Trey Owens number 3, just recounting that. The offensive line, we haven't talked about them yet. I'm going to give you left to right, the first and second units at this point. Left tackle, Kelvin Banks. Left guard, Hayden Connor. Center was Jake Majors. Right guard, DJ Campbell. Right tackle, Cam Williams. First team jumbo tight end, that would be Malik Agbo. That's an obvious. Second team left to right, Trevor Gooseby at left tackle. Left guard, Cole Hudson. Center would be Connor Robertson. Right guard, Nato Umeozulu. Right tackle, Jaden Chapman. Second team jumbo tight end is Robert Sweeney, a walk-on from Highland Park. So he's a big, good looking kid. We'll see if he ever gets on the field because obviously Malik Agbo is going to do that. What I thought was interesting out of all of that offensive line, other than the left guard between Cole Hudson and NATO, playing left and right guard, Jerry and Rod, was Malik Agbo was playing third team left tackle.
Yep.
Did you notice that, Jerry? That which, if you really think about it, and Flood mentioned this yesterday in his presser, he talked about how he's used to playing on the edge a little bit at jumbo tight end. Yeah. So he's lost enough weight now. Like, remember when he got here, Jerry, we talked about it. He was 355, 360, but he had the quickest feet almost of any of the freshmen. But he was so big, couldn't do anything with it. Now he's down in the 295, 300 range.
Coming out of high school, he was guard body, tackle feet, tackle arm length.
Wow, yes, I like that.
Now he actually looks like a tackle physically. Somebody asked about Jermaine Lole green jersey. I saw Jermaine Lole going through drills and stuff, but this goes back to what we'd reported. He's going to be on a pitch count of sorts. So there will be probably times where they put him in a green jersey. They make sure that he's not in everything. He's going to be on a pitch count. They want to get him to the season healthy. He's had 3 surgeries, missed over 2 seasons essentially on the field. So that he is not a guy that's going to do 100% of practice every day. They're going to put him on a pitch count of sorts because they want him to be ready to play this season.
Good stuff there. Kelvin Banks looked good. I thought the whole offensive line unit is just so daylight and dark from when it started with Cobb Flood on campus. It's kind of ridiculous to even compare.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you talked about it, Rod, very, very opening. You said they look the part.
They do.
And that the offensive line is a big piece of that.
They were one of the first people I talked to when I got out there was Torrey Becton. And I won't reveal what Torrey Becton talked about, but this team, they have been built specifically, deliberately, with a purpose in terms of the philosophy that Sark has and how he wants to win football games. And this is close as they've got to achieving that goal is this team. And they are in great shape. They have transformed the bodies of several of the linemen on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. And now mental toughness has also become a big part of what they do. Just talking to Torrey Becton about, and that's the fourth quarter mentality. That, hey, when we get to the fourth quarter, that's no time to relent or relax. That's a time actually for us to put our foot on the throat, play our best ball. And so that is something that they've geared the strength and conditioning toward too. So it not only is this the best looking team in terms of size and the speed, but I think it's going to be the toughest team mentally and physically too, based on what Torrey Becton told us.
Hey, we have not mentioned this position other than just talk briefly about Barron Sorrell and maybe Colton Vosick. How did the defensive ends look? One of the surprises that will be to folks out there is, frankly, Barron Sorrell looked terrific. Ethan Burke looked terrific. I thought Colton Vosick looked terrific. Zena and Colin Simmons will win that beauty contest over everybody every time. Now, they're both freshmen, but they are both long and can run. Okay, like Zena looks like he could be on special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, he was actually getting down fast. But what I want to say is this: the one that looks kind of out of place athletically, at least on the hoof, is Trey Moore.
Yeah.
I already know.
I mean, it's like you're like
one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, exactly. He does not look the part.
Yeah.
But then, you talk to the coaches and they're like, just because he doesn't look that way doesn't mean he doesn't play that way. Did you agree with that, Jerry? I don't know if you saw him that much.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, this kind of what we talked about the other day. I can't remember what live stream or what show it was, look, he's going to, he is a tremendous football player. And what you're talking about there, when he gets to the NFL combine, Rod knows this, they're just looking for warts. So they're going to say, oh, this guy's too short. His arms aren't long enough. Yep. But on Saturdays, he is a hell of a football player. But yes, physically, he would look like a linebacker that got in the wrong line.
Just one of the guys.
Yeah.
He looked like just one of the guys out there.
To me, that's more of a compliment to him, though. That says how badly the coaches wanted him because he's an outlier. They're looking for a certain type there. And it's like when, you look at all my exes, they may, look, hey, brunettes with the voluptuous figure or whatever. There may be a trend that develops there. But then you see an outlier, you see this blonde, girl, what's up with that blonde there? She was special. All right. That's Trey Moore. He's the standout. It's like that guy he's the best natural pass rusher on the team. And I think that's what they were looking for. They were like, you know what? He doesn't have the length that we desire there. He doesn't really have the frame, but he's got the best natural pass rushing talent we've seen. So let's get him. And I think that's probably what it's about ultimately.
Colin Simmons looked like $1 million and then some. I mean, he's from the spring, we talked about guys that surprised with the way they look the next time up.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Simmons' body has changed a little bit, Jerry. He's more built up top. He's more defined.
Got some armor.
Yeah, he's starting to get some armor. We saw the running backs, by the way. One of the things that they do early in practice, and Rod, you know this, and Jerry, they work on special teams quite a bit. So we saw punt return ad nauseum. It started off with Isaiah Bond and John Tate as the only ones back. Then they worked in Silas Bolden. Then they worked in DeAndre Moore a little bit. And we talked about it briefly. Silas Bolden looks like a natural back there. Yeah, he does, because he's quick-footed. Mm-hmm. He can retreat. He can go forward. He's got great. By the way, he fields it the cleanest. I thought,
because he adjusted the ball really well.
Yes, exactly. His feet. You catch a punt with your feet.
Yep,
is what people don't realize, and he has really light feet, whereas Jonte and Bond are actually go forward guys. They're not retreat guys.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
And so we saw a bunch of that. So that means we also saw the gunners. We saw a lot of the DBs at different spots. Jaden Blue and Trey Wisner were your first two gunners, but yesterday in the coach availability, Jeff Banks said, we've had Jaden Blue out there. I don't know if that's going to hold.
Oh, Sark's not going to let him.
Yeah.
So that means Sark's going to be like, what? No.
I think Jaden Blue is the returnee, because a year ago he wasn't one of the top two running backs at the start. He ended it that way, but while they still had Keelan Robinson and Keaton Crawford on the team. So it's naturally his position, but
that's going to change.
Warren Roberts.
By the way, on the running backs, just so everybody knows, this is not a practice for. We're going to see a lot with the running back. There's no inside runs. They threw him the ball in the flats a little bit, but it wasn't Jaden Blue racing down the seam. There wasn't anything like that. So Christian Clark looks really good physically, though. That I will say.
So did Jarrett Gibson. I mean, both those young running backs look good. I thought that, they don't look like freshmen.
No, they do not.
Yeah, that's the big piece. The other thing I would say is I didn't see a drop pass from those two. I think I saw like 2 drop passes all day.
Yeah.
And there was
some deep balls, I thought.
Yeah. One, Matt, play back the video. There's one deep ball here to Ryan Wingo. Guys, there are a lot of plays here in this video that we'll show. But my takeaways, I guess, just wrapping this up as we have to go over to see Steve Sarkisian do his press conference here pretty quick. My takeaway, Silas Bolden is a piece of the puzzle. I don't know beyond punt return what it'll be, but he's also had a couple of 50-50 catches. Look at this ball right here. This is from Arch to Bolden, I believe.
Yep.
Oh, that's the catch I was talking about. Look at that adjustment.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He
didn't got to slow down to make the adjustment either. There was no slowdown in him.
No. Yep.
Yeah.
He adjusted running through the ball over his back shoulder.
Which is what you'll hear Chris Jackson yelling at a lot of the receivers about. He's like, run through the catch. Because they want to jump up and leave their feet. It's like, no, run through the catch.
Yep. Good stuff. I think that's part of it. I think the tight end position we're watching here was another highlight for me personally. DB, we mentioned this at the outset, but I think for people just coming in.
No, it's big.
Jalen Gilbo was taking first team reps ahead of Jade Barron. Now, is that because Jade's still a little injured? I don't know, but it was Derek Williams, Michael Taft, Manny Muhammad, and Gavin Holmes, along with Jalen Gilbo at the start. This is something I totally forgot to mention that is big to me. For the first time since I've been covering Texas, they had the safeties with Blake Gideon, the corners with Terry Joseph, and the stars totally separate with Scott Hazelton. That's the new.
Whoa.
He was the former defense coordinator at Michigan State, and now he's an off-the-field assistant. He was completely worked. This is the long ball, by the way, to Wingo. You can see him running the post. He has to wait for it. Yeah, has to wait for it, but still catches the ball above his head when he did. You know what I mean? It's not yeah. But my point being on the Scott Hazelton stuff, that's the first time I've been doing this 30 years. Did y'all ever work out nickels different?
No, we did not at all. We didn't even. I think Coach Aquino was just a secondary coach.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But to that point, though, didn't they just change the rule this year?
Yeah.
Where those assistants can now be on-field assistants.
Yep.
So why not use the advantage? They just changed the rule for you. So,
yeah, I totally forgot about. I should have mentioned that at the outset because Blake Gideon was working. I mean, I saw Xavier Filsameade, Jordan Johnson, Rebel out there, but the other guys besides Gilbo and Barron, the one freshman that was working at nickel was Wardell Mack. So there you go. We were wondering who's going to play corner, who might get that first run at star position of the freshman. It was Wardell Mack today. So we'll see how that goes. Jerry, Rod, y'all have anything you want to add before we get going? We're gonna come back, by the way, at 7 o'clock tonight and talk at length. We'll also have some clips from Sark's presser this afternoon. Y'all have anything y'all want to add before we get going this afternoon?
No, everybody, we can't get to all the questions. Save your questions. Come back at 7. We'll have an hour and 20 minutes to go through all the questions. And if we didn't hit your question, we'll get to them then. But look, overall, thank you to UT. We were out there for an hour. It's normally
45 minutes to an hour for sure.
I mean, that's a long window for media. So we got to take a long look at everything, much longer than we normally do. But I thought this physically, it's the best looking team Steve Sarkisian's had. He went in front of the podium at SEC Media Day, said it'll be the fastest and the best team we've had. He hasn't shied away from that. I actually like that. I like the energy Steve Sarkisian had as a coach today. Sometimes we talk about the players, but Rod, you saw it. Sark was getting up in the wide receivers now.
He was.
I mean, Chris Jackson does his part, but Sark got on a couple of young guys pretty good, gave a lot of praise. I thought Jeff Banks really coached up tight ends, and he's a little more boisterous, let's say. He's animated, but it's always fun to watch Jeff Banks coach the tight end and demand in terms of the blocking. He was demanding that they get the first rep correct. That was a very good thing. He made guys go back. You mentioned Nyblack. He made Jordan Washington go back. He's a young player. But I just love the way these guys are coaching, and I love the energy that Sark had on the football field today. That stood out to me.
Yeah.
What did you have, Rod?
I also noticed to Jerry's point, Johnny Nansen was
good.
He seemed like he was all over the place too. Not in a bad way in terms of coaching. Like you saw him at times on the second level, talking to the linebackers. There were times he was talking to the defensive line, adjusting things. So I'm really excited about that Johnny Nansen influence. Seems like he's going to have his fingerprints on some of the looks on this defense. We even got a chance to see some of their coverages. I even saw some split field stuff. Looks like they may be. So that would be some kind of new stuff too. So I think Johnny Nansen's influence is going to be big this season.
I look at those, and then I also think of this. When I go back to this, we talk about it each and every year, Jerry. Who was the first one out to practice? DeAndre Moore. And he was all by himself, and he was good 5 minutes, 10 minutes ahead of everybody else. As far as position players, I think Will Stone, the kickoff specialist, was actually the first one there. But the specialists always come out first. But and it goes to show you. I mean, we didn't talk much about DeAndre Moore, but again, the first three receivers out there today were DeAndre Moore, Jonte Cook, and Isaiah Bond. We'll see if that holds up and how long it might hold up. I would bet that it doesn't hold up all that long based on a couple of guys that we saw today. Silas Bolden, Ryan Wingo, and Matthew Golden are all three gonna push.
Yep.
I don't know if they're gonna push all the way to the top, but they're gonna push. And then I would add this, talk about that in every practice to start the practice. Steve Sarkisian has the offensive defense do warm up on separate sides, etc. And then one person goes to the middle of the field, does the Texas jumping jacks and starts practice.
Break them down.
Yep, that was Quinn Ewers.
There you go.
Yep,
like
that was a guy. So we'll end with that today. We'll have more tonight at 7 o'clock. May actually, if more news breaks before then and we have time, we might hop on again. But please come back with all your questions. I'm sorry we can't, to Jerry's point, can't get to them all because we've got some other obligations to get to, but we absolutely want to answer them. For Jerry Hamilton, Rod Babers, and our producer behind the scenes, Matt Hutchison, I'm Bobby Burton. First day of football practice, dude. Hook 'em.